Long time. Blessings, blessings. All right, beautiful people. Happy Monday. It is May the 16th, 2022, day 109 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1127. Today we're picking up in Oahspe on page 94. And then if we get time today, we're going to hop on over to the meditation book, which we should, and pick up where we left off at on Friday on page 121. All right, y'all, so let's get started. Father, here we go. Another day. We here searching for truth. Lead us and guide us as we go along our journey. All right, y'all. Listen. Audrey Shalom. Rita. Top of the day. Mom Shalom. Grand Rising. Listen. Have y'all got this the raw contact? Oh, great spirit, good day, peace and blessings. Jen Grand Rising. Listen. Have y'all been in the raw contact? I shared with y'all in a community section. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but if the YouTube video if it's too slow for you, there is an updated version where they re-recorded it. All the original interview and stuff is still there, but at the beginning it gives you the introduction of who the people are that are involved. All that good stuff is really, really good, and it's like a regular reading of a book, and it's not those pauses between every word, right? It's 2 volumes. Just go to the community section. I think I posted it on Facebook today. I posted under the video on both places. So you can just in case you didn't get it or you can't find it, right? Listen. When you listen to the Audible, volume 1 is 15 hours. So if by yourself and you can stay woke, you ain't gonna get through it in one day, right? It's gonna have to be broken up over the days, but it's 15 hours, a little bit over 15 hours long. Volume 1 and volume 2 is the same. If you don't want to listen to it, they have a free PDF that you can download and read through it, or you can just order the book from Amazon, right? If you order the original ones, it's 5 volumes. If you order the digital, the one that was redone and more up to date, that one is also there, and that's 2 volumes, but each volume is like 1,000 pages, right? Either way, it's there. But I would say get the most updated version because it includes the background of the people involved. Listen, Audrey, Audrey said, literally been up listening to it. At first, it was hard to grasp, but now I'm intrigued. Yo, I'm telling you. Look, at first I was like, okay, I'm just kind of cautiously tiptoeing in, right? Because sometimes some of the Christian stuff still pop up in me. That's blasphemy. I'm gonna just raw, right? So once you get past that and you really start listening to us, like, oh snap, Dana said, I've been going a few days, feel like I missed a lot. I saw all the raw contact stuff. I'm like, what is this? Go back, Dana, to the day where in the title is the raw contact. Start there, right? And it's towards the end of it's like the last 5 minutes of that video where actually in our matter of fact, it's day. It was Friday, May the 13th, Friday the 13th. Babe, text Jeremiah and tell him yes, he's still going. You need him today, right? Out in Virginia Beach. Oh, okay. Well, text him for me because he texted me. Tell him he don't need to go then. Friday the 13th, which is May the 13th, at the end of that video that day, the last 5 minutes, go jump right there as I explain what I ran into, right? But listen, let me tell y'all something, because I'm on I'm like in I made a note because I want to share something with y'all at the end of the day, which I'm going to share with you because they mentioned the Oahspe in it. I'm like, what? And I had to go back a little bit. It's in session 14. Is it 14? I got to pull up my note. But if you're actually listening to the audible version, it's it's in hold on. Just make a note of this, y'all. And I'm gonna share this with y'all today. Hold on. Before we get started. Hold on. It's okay. Yeah. When they mention the Oahspe, it's one of the questions that Don asked about the Oahspe and who made it really. Like, was this y'all that did this? It's a raw session number 14. But if you're listening to the audible, jump to chapter 20 at the mark 16 minutes and 40 seconds is where it's at, right? The question was, can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? Let me just read it to you now. Hold on. Look, then we're gonna jump back into the Oahspe, right? Hold on. I said I was gonna share this at the end, but since we started talking about it real quick, let me just say it. Shayla Agar, Belinda Brown, Auntie Grand Rising. Okay. So if you hop right in there, I think I'm gonna copy and paste this too so you can actually read it because I found the PDF version and I copied this whole section. In the PDF version, it's at 14.28. Like all the paragraphs are numbered. So in the PDF version online, you jump to 14.28, and this is the question. Can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? Now, before I read it, remember what we read at the beginning on how the gentleman said this happened to him through like automatic writing, right? I'm gonna just read this question, but there are other points in here that they bring out that goes with this that makes all this kind of flow together. I'm like, yo, this, you can't make this stuff up. Okay, listen. Can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? And then they responded. I say they, okay, maybe I should give you a quick background just in case you haven't started. Okay, so Ra, when we hear Ra today, we think, oh, Ra, one God or whatever, right? But that's not the case. They call, and they actually explain that who they are. Ra is a group of those who have already graduated from the earth, who have made it multiple levels, like to the, they said they're at the sixth density, right? And this was in like 1980. Yeah, 1980, because this whole thing happened over a period of 3 years. And I was born in 79, 1980, 81, and 82 when all of this happened. Okay, so Ra is a group of individuals, and they also explain like right here, this realm that we live is like duality, but the realm where they're at, like the opposites, you like hot and cold, up and down. This is like a realm of polarity, duality, right? Where you have separate. They said the realm that they're on, it's the realm of like love and light combined. So they're one. So there's no longer polarities. They said whatever was polarized in lower levels, it's all one when you get to the sixth level and above. So that's, they were like at the, let's just say the sixth level, right? And so I understood that as they was explaining that because of what I understood reading through like the legends of the Jews and the 70 steps up to Pharaoh's throne, right? Those that are higher can help those below, but those below can only help those on their level and below, but those higher can come down. So that's what they did. They, since they're already at the level where everything is one, there are no polarities that exist at that level in the spiritual realm. They're one, and it's a group of them. Even as you ascend and you got the different ones, it's like you can say you merge into one person, but not necessarily one person, but it's all the information and it's there. So it's one. So when, and I say not because I understand it. So when Ross speaks, it's like the group of them speaking as a whole. So you say you got like a group of people and you got a spokesperson. So the spokesperson speaks for the whole group, but he doesn't name himself like separate from the group. They just say we're Ra, right? And so the group name is Ra, or the spirits, or those who have graduated to this level that are trying to help us and show us what's going on. So listen, I just want, just in case you haven't gotten that far, I just wanted to give you that real quick so you don't get, okay, Ra, who is that? Okay, let me read the question again. Can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? Ra. And every time Ra answers or the group answers, there's like this they always start with I am Ra, right? The group is now speaking, just to kind of decipher, make sure you know it's them, right? I am Ra. This was transmitted by one of the Confederation Social Memory Complex status, whose idea, as offered to the Council, was to use some of the known physical history of the so-called religions and religious distortions of your cycle in order to veil and partially unveil aspects or primal distortions of the law of one. I know that sounded like a bunch of blah, blah, blah. I'm going to read it again. Okay. Just explain a couple things. Y'all, I'm like, I'm all the way in like session 20 right now because a couple of them I had to go back and re-listen to it again so it sunk in. All right. Okay. So you ever heard people? Okay. So it's a few things you probably have to understand, which is why I think I can take it in right now. If this had been maybe like 2 months prior, I would probably not be able to handle some of this stuff. But because of what I've learned and what I've started researching and paying attention to different people when they start talking about the Galactic Confederation, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? A Galactic Confederation? I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna see this through to the end because you can't sound kind of silly to me, right? And thinking about all the movies and just the different things, but all of this stuff seems to be going together. Even so much so to where you have psychics. Listen, now don't get chopped and screwed when it comes to the psychics, because not all psychics are operating, I would say, on the law of one. The law of one is simply the the understanding that everything created comes out of the whole. Even though we're many parts, we're still a part of the one. Like my body, if we're looking at the law of one according to my body, every member of my body, although it's a separate distinctive member and it has its own function, is still a part of this one, right? So that's what it is in all of creation. We are separate parts of the body, but we're really all one, right? The law of one. So everything that happens to in us individually, it happens to the whole body, right? Okay. So just remember that. Now, the the confederation, or they call it like when you hear the word, there are a few different terms in here that you're going to get familiar with as you go. Called spirit, body, mind complexes, right? Because when they look at us, like we see us like in bodily shape, and clearly they can see us in bodily shape, but we're energy, we're frequency. So they refer to us because we have polarities going on, which is our spirit, soul, and body, right? So when they refer to us and they'll say it, and you refer to yourselves as people or humans, we refer to you as the mind, body, soul, the spirit, soul, body complex, right? And with the flesh being an instrument, like they go into detail, the flesh is literally an instrument that your spirit should use, but half of us then forgot it and nobody's remembering it, which is why they're trying to help us to restore the original teachings, which were distorted over the course of time. Even in Egypt, they start bringing it up because they start asking about all this stuff, right? So I'm like, oh snap, I understand exactly what they're talking about because I've literally just finished researching it. Choppy. I hate when they do this. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this video. Hold on, y'all. Let me just give you the link for Facebook again, just in case. Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna give y'all the YouTube link. I mean the Facebook link, just in case it's too choppy. Okay. Facebook, if it's breaking up, and I will re-upload this video in a better format later. Okay. Let me go back here, right? Okay, know what's going in and out. Man, I hate that. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone because I don't want it to cut completely out. But y'all just hop on over to Facebook. Okay. Okay, so you're gonna learn a few different terms as you go through because they'll explain it, right? Okay, so I'll get to that in a second. Let me reread this paragraph and then I'll explain to you what I was talking about, especially when it comes to the psychics and those pulling information and even those. Okay, sweet. Yeah, just come on over to Facebook, y'all. So even when it comes to prophecy in the church and everything, and when you hear people talking about the Akashic records being able to see into the future, this makes so much sense to me now, simply because of my experience in life and just different research and stuff that I've tested. Right? Okay, listen. Let me read this again. Can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? Ra, I am Ra. This was transmitted by one of Confederation Social Memory Complex status, whose idea, as offered to the council, was to use some of the known physical history of the so called religions or religious distortions. So they call our religions religious distortions, right? And everything that's out of sync, out of line with the law of one, they call it distortions. Even us, they call us distortions because we don't really realize what we are, right? Okay. So it was their idea to help us get back on track, right? So with using the religious stories from the different places, which remember as we was reading through, he was like, this sounds like, well, we remember reading this in the Bible, this, and this is taking different pieces, but it's giving you there is a deeper understanding about the Oahspe and why it was written. Okay, I'm gonna read it one more time. Can you tell me who was responsible for transmitting the book Oahspe? I am Ra. This was transmitted by one of Confederation Social Memory Complex status idea, whose idea, as offered to the council, was to use some of the known physical history of the so called religions or religious distortions of your cycle in order to veil and partially unveil aspects or primal distortions of the law of one. All names can be taken to be created for their vibrational characteristics. The information buried within has to do with a deeper understanding of love and light and the attempts of infinite intelligence through many messengers to teach, learn those entities of your sphere, right? So it's not just us, it's many that have come, which we call like prophets and stuff. This is the same energy that's flowing through them to kind of get us back on the right track, right? Okay, let's see. And so here's the next question at 14.29. Have there been any other books that you can name that are available for this purpose that have been given by the Federation? Hold on. They said, I am Ra. We cannot share this information for it would distort your discernment patterns in your future. You may ask about a particular volume. Now, I want to keep reading this part right here because I actually ordered this volume, but I haven't looked into it yet. Although when I got it, I kind of flipped through it and some things caught my eye. I was like, I'll get to that later, right? But some things that seem more to go into like the Jesus Christy stuff and and it's pronounced the Urantia, right? It's spelled Urantia book, right? Okay, so here's the question. Uh, Question. The Urantia book, which I haven't read, who gave that? I am Ra. This was given by a series of discarnate entities of your own earth planes, the so called inner planes. This makes, hold on, hold on. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This material is not passed by the council. Okay, so the Urantia book, right? The Urantia book, they said, was not passed by the council, those who are kind of like overseeing the earth to kind of help get us back on track. That particular material was not passed by the council. But let me tell you, they're going to tell you how he actually got that information. And here's where you need to pay attention to the psychics, right? And those who on purpose tap, you'll see. Let me not get ahead. Listen. You saw it pop up? Look. Okay, listen. Question. The Edgar Casey material. Who spoke through Edgar Casey? Ra. And y'all should look into Edgar Casey. I ain't saying go read none of his stuff, but unless you like researching, but just be careful. The Edgar Casey material. Who spoke through Edgar Casey? I am Ra. No entity spoke through Edgar Casey. But Edgar Casey has a whole institution here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where they set up universities around this stuff where no entity has actually spoken through him. But let me tell you how he got the information. This is really intriguing to me, y'all. Where did the information come from that Edgar Casey channeled? I am Ra. We have explained before that the intelligent infinity is born into intelligent energy from eighth density or the octave, and I'm gonna explain that in a second. The one vibratory complex, the one vibratory sound complex called Edgar, which is another like way they refer to us, a vibratory sound complex, right? We vibrate, we make sound, the complex, mind, body, spirit. The vibratory sound complex, which you call Edgar, use this gateway to view the present, which is not the continuum you experience, but the potential social memory complex of this planetary sphere. Now, the social memory complex is like a group, right? So Ra is a social memory complex because they are a group, right? And not like a individual from the group. The one vibratory sound complex called Edgar use this gateway to view the present, which is not the continuum you experience, but the potential social memory complex of this planetary sphere. The term your peoples have used for this is the Akashic record or the Hall of Records. Now, and that was the end of that. And it had a footnote number 8 when you read through that, and it shows you where they spoke about it before in 4.2, 5.1, 6.1, 11.8, and 11.20. And I started going back to all those points and going over them again, right? And it explains what that is. So just kind of make a long story short so we can actually get started. When you tap, that's what's happening. Like I figured that out before, but psychics or prophets, when they tap into the spirit, they tap into the Akashic records or into the spiritual realm, just depending on what part of the earth you're at, they'll use certain type of words, right? So they tap into that information to bring back information, crystal ball readers and stuff. But here's the thing. Now I had been looking at this one particular lady, right, in the research, and she calls herself like, she don't care, she calls herself a witch, but she does tarot and stuff like that. And just I'm like, okay, so this girl has been like on point about stuff. Like I'm doing research into people. So I'm like, okay, so how is she getting that site? And furthermore, all the other psychics, how does this happen? So now I understand they tap into the Akashic records or into the spiritual realm, and they do talk to the disembodied people or to the dead who come to them. See, but here's the thing where you can decipher whether, and I ain't saying go search out none of these people. I'm not telling you to do that. Just don't do it, right? Especially if you're not in the research, you just being nosy. Just don't do it. When you have different people tapping into that realm and they have disembodied spirits coming back, and say they died like in a say they were murdered or whatever, and they want revenge for their murder, they'll seek out mediums or those who can tap into that know how to tap into that realm, and they'll use them. And sometimes, a lot of times, those people who still have bodies, they will actually work with those spirits to kind of like help solve cases, right? But sometimes it's like they want, it's not all the time, from at least up to my understanding today, right? Some of those spirits don't necessarily just want it to be solved for the peace, but they actually want revenge. Now, when you get that type of energy coming from that realm, you should know something is wrong, because that should not be the course that we're on. Remember, if we're all one, if you hurt one portion of the body, you hurt the whole body. So those who are going after the spiritual things to like do get back, you're literally tearing your own body down, and that's how you can know that you're on the wrong path, you're on the wrong wavelength, right? Okay, so I hope that kind of made sense. Oh yeah, 7:43. We at 25 minutes. Okay, but I wanted to share that because we're reading through the Oahspe, right? And some of you who may not been able to put some of those pieces together from reading it, I just kind of wanted to share just a little bit. So if you're listening to it, I think if you're listening to it, it really would be helpful if you had like a written copy. So if you don't order the book, get the PDF so you can kind of like follow along, because some things you're just gonna have to read over, and some things you're gonna go have to check into, right? But to me, up until this point, everything seems to be lining up based on my personal experience, right? Now y'all don't have my experience and y'all don't know a lot of stuff I know. So you're gonna have to do your own diligent research and study on some of these things that point out and stick out to you. And there is actually a portion in here, I forget which section, it's like maybe like between like session 10 to like 16, somewhere in there, where it talks about they ask a question. I'm gonna just sum it up, like why you can't just like tell people stuff. It would distort everything that we have going on with free will. Like you can't, like they explain, like you really can't just dump information on people like to wake people up. It's literally, you ever see um animals that are born in a shell, they have to break their own shell, right? They literally have to wake up themselves, otherwise it's going to distort their growth process. So if you help a baby chick break out of its shell when it's designed to do that, because it gains strength so it can actually be strong enough to live out here in the world, once it gets out of its shell, you're going to do more hurt, even though it looks like you're helping. Oh, he cracking, let's help you break it. That's the worst thing you could ever do to a baby chick. Do not do that, because if they can't survive breaking out of the shell, you almost literally, I ain't gonna say you 100% destroyed their life, but you almost destroyed their life, and they're gonna die before they can even live good. They have to get that strength on their own. Like they have to get curious on their own. Otherwise, if people just lead them, it's just like taking in another zombie or another slave, and they're gonna get lost some point in time down the way, right? So, and they explain how important it is that everybody wakes up on their own. You know, we can lead and guide, we can leave information, breadcrumbs and stuff, but they have to be able to recognize, because as they begin to wake up, it's going to activate different things in them, and it's going to like kind of lead them on their path to full awakening, to grow. It's kind of like that baby chick hatching out of that shell. Man. Okay, so let's get started. We might not get to the meditation book, but oh, when it started getting into the stuff from ancient Egypt, oh my gosh! Like when I say I've fallen asleep, listen to this, phone hitting me in the head and stuff, because I'm trying to follow along in the book, and then getting up at 5 today, putting it on, going through it, highlighting stuff in the PDF version. I'm just like, yo, this is amazing. Okay, that was a long intro. That's a little bit about the raw contact. So get into it if you haven't, right? Those who are ready. Like if you ain't ready for it, it ain't going nowhere. Just keep on your learning journey until you gathered enough information to where you can kind of step into those waters and take your research up another level, because it's I'm excited about some of the things that I've kind of looked ahead and looked at. I was like, okay, slow down, Pam, because you don't want to get anything mixed up. Go through line by line. I'm super excited about this. Can y'all tell? Okay. The Lord's second book. We probably got time just to read this, and it's real short anyway. I think it was what, 3 chapters? Yep. Just like 2, 4, 6, not even 6 whole pages. It's probably, if it was all on one page, probably be a page and a half. So Lord's second book on page 84 of it was one more thing I want to tell y'all. Hold on, before we read this, one more thing I want to tell y'all about this. So remember when I was talking about something that I found, that it was done. It's almost like the Oahspe book, but it originated in South America, right? They said what you call South America. Remember me talking about that like a few weeks ago, maybe not even a few weeks ago. But I said I've gone through it, but I wasn't sure. I didn't give you the name of it. But here's something. Did I write that comment down? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. That one in here. Y'all done took so many notes. Oh, I thought I put it in here. I think I just highlighted. I didn't. Mm. Okay, so it asked about another book, right? So they said they couldn't just throw out books because it just kind of throw off your discernment. Like we have discernment and we need to get it working how it should. If they just give us that stuff, it won't it's going to impede the process on us being able to decipher truth from error. So, but they say you can ask about a specific volume, but we're not just going to give you the names of the volumes, right? So they asked about, I wish I would have put that in here. Now I got to go back and find it. Hold on. Look, I'm going through my little notes that I was putting in here. Hold on. But anyway, it was another thing. They said, okay, so when they asked them, just kind of sum it up. So they asked about when they, like, how many times they've come to the humans, our race, to kind of help us get back on track. And they started naming the few different times that they've come here to kind of help us, and the information that they gave. And so they said the group that came here, like when this was being done, and this wasn't the first time, it's been multiple years. And they said, and our government knows about it, right? But the government clearly, but we already knew that, right? The government wants to take the information and use it for selfish purposes. They said, which is not conducive to the law of one, like the overall growth and betterment for the whole human race, so we can grow together, right? The government doesn't want to do that. The government wants to continually hold us in bondage and keep us at a level where we can't grow, which is why they've been trying to intervene, but not like overstepping their bounds, because it's like we have to, like, it's like not casting your pearls amongst swine, right? If you ain't even ready for it, they're not just gonna give it to you, because you ain't gonna be able to do anything with the information anyway. So they said at this time when they came, like every time they came, it wasn't just them, it was another group, what you would call in your lands South America. And when they said, I was like, oh snap, I bet they're talking about this particular book. I'm still not gonna give y'all the name of the book yet, because I still need to verify some things in it myself for my own personal, I don't want to give y'all something and it's not really what I thought it was, and because I'm not trying to get y'all off. But when they start talking about South America, the information that I had learned about South America and what was there and some of the supernatural things, I was like, yo, that has got to be it. So, but here in America, in this portion of America, they said when the government, they just kind of like, when they said they stepped back because the information that they was giving them, they said even in Egypt, shortly after the information was given, they brought up, they asked about Moses, they asked about some of everybody. I'm like, oh snap. Like I figured some of that stuff out before I even heard about this, right? So I'm like, wait, this is getting better and better. So they said what happened was, even in Egypt, we knew that Egypt started good, but they said the priests and the people there, they began to distort the message, what took it away from the law of one and the wholeness of all creation, and they began using it for selfish purposes, right? And so they said they backed away. They say they didn't completely leave, but they just backed away, and they didn't really interact with us like they were doing, simply because everything that they had given, they perverted it. And now they changed the earth. It started, the earth started going into another whole avenue, that the information that was given should have caused us to raise up and grow as a race. You got everything that's being distorted now. You got the wars and all this stuff, the information, the government got secret information, things that weapons and stuff that they took this information and used, and they're hoarding for themselves, like things that will literally obliterate the world. Information that they have, they've even talked about Nikola Tesla and and why they offed him, you know, and the information that they took from him, which Nikola Tesla, if y'all know about him, and the energy and all that stuff, the Tesla vehicles, all those ideas came from this one man who was actually going to give this information to the world so we could all grow. Government, you got to go to the grave. We're going to take this information and we're going to use it, and we'll keep the masses enslaved, because we need our power companies running, because we need money, right? All of this, all the information, especially what they gave to Nikola Tesla, it would have literally set humanity free from ever having to pay another power bill, water bill. And they were showing us how like we could access this stuff without the help of like the governments, but the government take the information and they're not teaching it to the masses, right? So they just kind of backed away, but they're still here. They just backed away. They said they just kind of wait for an instrument who's ready for the information, who's, I just say, not pure enough, but who's ready for the information, that has like a good vibration where they're taking do what's right with the information. So they backed away, still here, but just kind of watching from afar. But the group that's in South America, he said they were a little more adamant about getting the information. So they didn't back away as soon as they did, like over here in the Americas, but they kept working like with the people of South America to push this information, even though the people in South America was doing the same thing in the governments, but they were more, because they were assigned to South America, they really wanted it. They really wanted them to get the picture, but still, the stubbornness of our race on the level that we're at in the third density in the 3D realm, it's like it's not working. So now even they've backed away a little, but you can see some information like what the Oahspe, there are different volumes with kind of like the same information with those same underlying principles about the law of one and what will help us to grow and get to where we need to be, right? And things will flow, and it'll kill a lot of the division and separation and the wars and the rumors of wars. The current powers that be in the human flesh, and even some in the human flesh who are not really humans, right? They don't want that to happen, right? That's why it's always something, right? To keep your mind off into somewhere so you can't focus on what's really happening. If it ain't Will Smith and Chris Rock, it's the baby milk. If it ain't the baby milk, you just start paying attention, y'all. If you haven't, once one thing die down, something else picks right up just to kind of keep the masses going. If it ain't the baby milk, we got a mass shooting, right? If it ain't the mass shooting, we something going on in Ukraine. America has to help. If it ain't that, oh my gosh, tornadoes. Like I'm like, yo, this is crazy. This is freaking crazy, right? But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Okay, listen. Shalom, Robin. Okay, let me get back to this. Is this from the video link you shared? Yes, from the book, The Raw. Yes, yeah, the video I shared, Cameron, The Raw Contact, but it's in a book as well. You get the PDF. I'm gonna reshare all that again today under both videos in Facebook and YouTube, and in the community section, and as a post on Facebook today, just in case you can't find it for some strange reason, right? Okay. Okay, so that's it. I just want to share it with y'all. Now let's get to this, the Lord's second book. Okay. So remember, we just finished reading the book of Sue, right? And that was a heavenly account. So now this is the earthly account that's happening simultaneously down here on the earth. Okay. The Lord's second book, being contemporaneous with the book of Sue, son of Jehovah, as the latter is chiefly of the angels of heaven, so is the Lord's book of man on the earth. Chapter 1. God said, I, the Lord, for my predecessors and successors, and for myself, declare these things unto mortals. The chosen of God, being called Ehenes, because they were of the fruit of both heaven and earth, were taken into all the earth in the protection of God, his lords and angels, for the fulfillment of man on earth, for the glory of the Almighty. And I, the Lord, a one-time mortal, with my holy angels, who had sprung from the earth in former times, walked with man to keep him upright in the way he should go. By command of God, the angels watched over man, teaching man oft times unknowingly to himself in all good works and industry. By constant changes of watch, did the angels relieve one another daily, weekly, and monthly. And in no time did the angels leave the Ehines alone and without the light of heaven. And whithersoever the Ehines went, there went the angels, and the angels often took on Sargis and were seen by man even daily, and man talked with them face to face. And the angels told man what was good for him, showing him the way of righteousness. And man depended on the Lord and his angels for all things helpful to his understanding. Now, when the earth was inhabited in many places, and there were thousands of cities and villages, the Lord said unto man, Behold, thou hast made the earth the joy of the Lord, and now I will give it into thy keeping. How sayest thou? And man answered, It is well. I can keep the earth, and I shall rejoice thereon, because it is the gift of God. The Lord said, If I stay with thee day and night forever, thou wilt not put forth thine own power and judgment. Man said, Go thy way, O Lord. Then the Lord withdrew a while, taking his angels with him. Now in those days there were ground people dwelling in the wilderness, who had not the light of heaven in them, neither could they be made to understand. As one may discourse to an ox, and it heedeth not, so was speech to the people of darkness. Nevertheless, in winter, when food was scarce, the ground people came to the cities of the Ehines, beseeching for food. And the Ehines, remembering the commandments of God, went out to them, treating them to everything good to eat. Now behold, the chosen were tempted by the people of darkness, and it came to pass that a new race was born on the earth, and they were called Ehuans, after the manner of the ancient warriors that destroyed the chosen before the flood. These Ehuans were copper colored and were capable of speech. When God beheld what had happened, he called to the Ehines, saying, O ye that could dispense with the Lord, gave I not unto you the mark of circumcision as a limit to the line of my chosen? Hear me now in my prophecy. The Ehuan shall be taught the name of Jehovah, the great spirit, and the plans of heaven and earth. And the Ehuan shall inhabit the whole earth in time to come, and he shall have dominion over everything on earth and in the waters of the earth. That would be us today. And in time to come, the Ehine race shall disappear from the earth. Their light shall not be found on this my footstool. The Ehines inquired of the Lord when these things should come to pass. The Lord said, according to the cycle, some 20,000 years. And then it has reference number 1. After the reference says, the Lord said, according to the cycles, some 21 and 20,000 years. Okay. Verse 24. The Lord said, From this time forth, the Ehines shall not mingle with any other people on the face of the earth. This is my commandment. And whosoever violateth my word shall be cast out of my cities and go and dwell with the barbarians. Inasmuch as the Ehuans are your heirs and are capable of everlasting life, ye shall be unto them the light of my kingdoms, teaching them peace, righteousness, and mercy. But ye shall in no case suffer them to enter your cities and abide therein. Neither shall ye raise a hand to do them harm. But if they come upon you in multitudes to take your stores, then shall ye depart out of that city, leaving the Ehuans to take the goods and food for themselves. For ye shall be as an example of non-resistance for the sake of establishing the love of God in them. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of what I'm reading now in the Raw contract. I keep saying contract, the Raw contact. Okay, chapter 2. God foresaw that the Ehuans should be separated from the Drooks, otherwise Yaks would again be born into the world. And he said to the Ehines, Behold, the Ehuans cannot hear the voice of the Lord. Therefore go ye unto them, saying, Thus saith the Lord, if ye mingle with the Drooks, your seed shall not inherit everlasting life, but go down in darkness. And the Ehines went and told the Ehuans the words of God. Nevertheless, many of the Ehuans broke the commandment, and indeed, Yaks were born again into the world. The Ehines said to one another, Are not these like those of the legends of old, who were made eunuchs and servants? The Ehuans inquired the meaning, and when they were told, they made a law unto themselves, making eunuchs and servants of both yaks and the ground people whenever they came upon them. The Ehenes feared for the judgments of God, and they called out to him for a remedy. But God answered them, saying, because of the enmity betwixt these two races, behold, they will not marry. Suffer ye the Ehuans to do in their own way. For of what profit is it to bring forth heirs that cannot inherit my exalted heavens? Because the tribes of darkness cannot be made to understand, behold, their souls go out of being as a lamp that is burned out. Let me read that again. Verse 7. But God answered them, saying, because of the enmity betwixt these two races, behold, they will not marry. Suffer ye the Ehuans to do in their own way. For of what profit is it to bring forth heirs that cannot inherit my exalted heavens? Because the tribes of darkness cannot be made to understand, behold, their souls go out of being as a lamp that is burned out. So it came to pass that the Ehuans made eunuchs of the tribes of darkness of both sexes, did they thus, and they made slaves of them also. The Lord said, the Ehuans shall have laws of their own. Let my chosen go unto them and make laws for them, saying, thus saith the Lord, the Ehuans shall be guardians over the Ehenes, the sacred people, and through the Ehenes will I bless the Ehuans and make them mighty. Since it is not lawful for the Ehenes to kill beast, nor bird, nor serpent, behold, their cities and mounds are invaded by all manner of evil beasts and serpents. The Ehuans shall slay such evil beasts and serpents, and they shall guard around about the cities and mounds where abide my chosen. Servants shall be ground people, and the yaks shall be unto the Ehuans. And the latter shall cast their servants, that they cannot multiply on the earth. Hear ye then the law of God betwixt the Ehuans one with another. Whoso doeth an injury to his neighbor or to a stranger, the same shall be done unto him. Whoso taketh from another, an equivalent shall he render twofold. Whoso killeth a man or woman or child shall be put to death. Whoso marrieth his sister or mother, or his half sister or half mother, they shall also suffer death together. Sound like what we're reading about in the commandments, right? In the Levitical laws. And it has reference to after they shall also suffer death together. And it says they shall all. So not they too, but they all shall suffer death together. Verse 20. Whoso oppresseth another shall be cast out of the tribe of his people. He that blasphemeth the Great Spirit shall be put to death. He that respecteth not the time of woman shall be put to death. And the time of woman is her menstrual cycle, right? The fields I have given to the Ehenes, but the forests and wildernesses have I, the Lord, given unto the Ehuans. And it was so. The Ehuans began to be carnivorous, but the Ehenes neither ate flesh nor fish. And it has a reference number 3 after fish, and it says, but both the Ehenes and the tribes of darkness ate neither flesh nor fish. Hold on. And it was so, the Ehuans began to be carnivorous, but the Ehenes ate neither flesh nor fish. But both the Ehenes and the tribes of darkness. Oh, okay. I didn't get it. Okay. The Ehenes and the tribes of darkness ate neither flesh nor fish. Okay. Last chapter, chapter 3. In all the great divisions of the earth, these things were, nor had one division of the earth much preference over another. But in the regions of summer weather, where the earth brought forth abundantly, the Ehuans and ground people dwelt most numerously, though the Ehenes dwelt in both warm and cold countries, for they clothed themselves and built habitations. But the Ehuans were only a covering about the loins, neither built they any habitations, and they roved about far and near. That sounds kind of similar to what we see, or the movies. Let's just say the movies. I don't want to disrespect or dishonor anybody. But over here in the West, we see that happening in Africa, right? That's what they, I'm gonna just say that's what they show us on the movies, right? That they run around in loincloths and stuff like that. But I believe this is what that's referring to, that portion of land. But they clothed themselves and built habitations. But the Ehuans wore only a covering about the loins, neither built they any habitations, and they roved about far and near. And not just Africa, and other places too. I've seen it according to the movies, right? Let me not just call out Africa. Okay, and we almost done this, a few more verses. But the ground people traveled not, and they mingled with their own kin, bringing forth heirs of darkness. The Ehuans learned the laws and obeyed them, and they looked upon the Ehines as a sacred people, doing them no harm. And it came to pass that the Ehuans were a very prolific people, 4 times more prolific than the Ehines, or the ground people, and they spread rapidly over the earth, in all the regions where the earth brought forth fruit and roots, and flesh and fish that were good to eat. For 2,000 years the Ehuans prospered, and they became mighty in many countries. But in the course of time, they began to war upon one another, and for hundreds of years they descended lower and lower in darkness, and they obeyed no longer the commandments of God, but they mingled with the ground people, bringing forth heirs of darkness. And that is the end of the Lord's second book. And that is where we're going to pause at today. So now that we're done with this section, we move on to the next book, the book of Apollo, son of Jehovah, being the heavenly administration of Apollo, an Etherian god. Let's see how long this is. Oh, the Lord's third book is under this one, and that's not long at all. It's about as long as this one. This one is what? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The book of Apollo is 15 chapters. Okay, so what we at? 51. We can pause right here. We got a few minutes. Let me see if we can read a page of the meditation book. Okay. Let's see. We paused on page 121 a few days ago. Let me see what we got. Oh, we almost done with this little portion. Okay, yeah, let's read a page. Oh, I stopped right here at the bottom. Okay. Okay, let's read it. Okay. All right. Page 121, down at the bottom where it says transcendental awareness, where's this little diagram right here. So I'm going to read this, then we're going to read below. Okay. Okay. So it's 4 of them. And from the bottom up, it starts with dullness, distraction, lucidity, and transcendental awareness, which is what we're working ourselves to, right? Because we started the dullness state, we're completely deaf, dumb, and blind, right? Okay. Quote, do not prefer the well-born to the commoner. Choose a man on account of his skills, then all crafts are done. Guard your borders, secure your forts. Troops are useful to their lord. End quote. And that's from the ancient Egyptian instruction to Mirakara. This Hakao, ancient Egyptian utterance, verse, or spiritual scripture, contains a profound teaching of mystical spirituality. It comes from a text in which an ancient Egyptian sage, Merikare, is teaching about the agitated state of mind by discussing the motivations and causes for the negativity of the Asiatics who were constantly attacking Egypt during that time for several thousands of years before. It teaches the need to maintain equal vision or equanimity of mind. Since material wealth is transient and illusory, as we discussed in the last passage, a person cannot be judged by his or her material condition. That is pretty good because in Oahspe, remember we was just reading about how all those spirits had grafted themselves onto the humans that were still living. And so when they were kind of like brought before the council, they was like, we're gonna go all in our gold and our pomp and our everything. We're gonna show them we got slaves, and even our slaves are dressed beautifully with all the jewels and stuff. But when they got there and they realized they couldn't bribe nobody with their money, and how beautiful they looked and how they appeared to be, and all of the awe and wonder that was coming from the spirits who looked like plain Jane clothing, nothing. They's like, we getting rid of all of this. They start snatching off turbans, jewelry, gold. We're gonna set our slaves free. Just teach me, right? Look, okay, listen. Since material wealth is transient and illusory, as we discussed in the last passage, a person cannot be judged by his or her material condition. Rather, a person should be judged for their actions and abilities. Since every human being is innately a divine, immortal soul, their potential is limitless. What holds people back is their ignorant understanding of life and egotistic feelings, which lead to sinful behaviors based on vices. If you judge others based on their level of material wealth, you are engaging in sin because you are seeing them through your egotistic vision of what is true and real based on ignorance. Virtue is the only true wealth, and it expresses in the form of compassion, nonviolence, truth, universal love, harmony, sharing, etc., which is what the portion I'm getting into as I'm reading through the raw contact. Alicia, yeah. The meditation book is what we're reading. We're on page 122. Okay. We at the first paragraph about the middle. Virtue is the only true wealth, and it expresses in the form of compassion, nonviolence, truth, universal love, harmony, sharing, etc. Virtue is an expression of one's understanding of the interconnectedness of life and one's own transcendental existence, which is connected to the Supreme Spirit. To the extent that one is aware of one's own divine nature, virtue manifests through the humanity. To the extent that one is aware of one's own divine nature, virtue manifests through the human personality. To the extent that one is in ignorance about one's own divine nature, sinful vice, behavior based on greed, jealousy, egotistic desires, etc., will manifest. You're welcome. We're in the second paragraph now on page 122 of the meditation book. There is one more important point to realize about the various states of consciousness. Many people believe that when something which they feel is positive occurs, then this means happiness, peace, and harmony have been achieved. For example, people in general feel that when they experience some situation or acquire some object which brings them joy, that this signifies happiness and is the goal of life. Upon reflection and the light of yogic mystical philosophy, it must be understood that both elation and depression, happiness and anger, etc., are both in reality only two forms of agitation. Elation causes one form of distraction and unrest, while anger and negativity also causes a form of distraction and unrest. Dullness is also a form of distraction and unrest. As you study and reflect on the teachings of ancient mystical philosophy, it should become increasingly clear to you that what most people consider to be true happiness and peace are in reality sources of agitation, stress, and distraction from the real source of peace. This is why in ancient Egyptian mystical philosophy, as well as in the mystical philosophy from India, there is an emphasis on the practice of balance, ma'at, as the following Hakal explains, ancient Egyptian spiritual scripture. Creativity is a factor of harmony and inner peace. When there is a raging storm of emotions, anxiety, and tension in the mind, the flow of inspiration from the transcendental self is obstructed, right? So when you just go off your rock and you agitated and you pissed, you can't think clearly. It impedes the flow of true peace that will come to you, right? And you're going to start thinking about doing some insane things, right? Even to the point of taking somebody else's life and possibly even your own, right? Because true peace has been impeded and you're not thinking straight. Let me read that again. Creativity is a factor of harmony and inner peace. When there is a raging storm of emotions, anxiety, and tension in the mind, the flow of inspiration from the transcendental self is obstructed. Therefore, to promote creativity, it is necessary to harmonize one's life in every aspect. All activities should be performed in such a way that promotes peace instead of tension. This way of life allows the inner self to guide your inner and outer life. This can be achieved if there is constant surrender of the egotistic desire to the divine will by permitting yourself to be directed by the teachings of yoga. And this is like the last, well, yeah, literally at an hour. Okay. Let me read this because this is the last part. Is giving this uh yeah, this is literally the last page of this section. So let me just finish this. I know it's Monday, but this is, let me see. Let me just finish this. Let me finish it. Okay. Quote, but this should be said to the bowman. Lo, the miserable Asiatic, he is wretched because of the place he's in, short of water, bare of wood. Its paths are many and painful because of mountains. He does not dwell in one place. Food propels his legs. He fights since the time of Haru, not conquering nor being conquered. He does not announce the day of combat like a thief who darts about a group. But as I live and shall be what I am, when the bowmen were a sealed wall, I breached their strongholds. I made Lower Egypt attack them. I captured their inhabitants. I seized their cattle until the Asiatics arbored Egypt. Do not concern yourself with him. The Asiatic is a crocodile on its shore. It snatches from a lonely road. It cannot seize from a populous town. End quote. From the instructions to Merikari. The preceding teaching speaks volumes about the nature of agitation, the general aware of your surroundings. Harshness in surroundings and general environment can cause negative stress, which could lead to an unsettled mind. An unsettled mind is difficult to control. An unsettled mind is difficult to control. A mind that is uncontrollable will have difficulty in concentrating. Poor concentration will not allow for reflection. Reflection is necessary to make sense of one's situation and to gain intellectual understanding. So, especially if you find yourself in an agitated situation, maybe a relationship, that's one of the easiest things we can think about. If you find yourself in an agitated state with your partner, whoever it is you're in a relationship, like a romantic relationship with, it's impossible to think straight. You can't even see clear or even make the proper and adequate decisions on what needs to happen or even to how to solve the problem, to where you start thinking ridiculously and you feel like, you know what, it's better that you just die. You know what? You're gonna die, and then I'm gonna die with you, and then neither one of us will have to worry about this problem again. It be like that sometimes, right? An unsettled mind is difficult to control. A mind that is uncontrollable will have difficulty in concentrating. Poor concentrating will not allow for reflection. Reflection is necessary to make sense of one's situation and to gain intellectual understanding. A non reflective, confused, or wrong thinking mind will have difficulty meditating, right? They get pissed. I ain't doing this. Forget the church, forget God, all this. Why my life like this? You just can't think straight. You can't do anything to reel yourself back in, right? Hopefully you got a group of people around you that can help bring you back to your senses, or trick you like Jehudi had to do to her third, right? To Hetheru, so she could remember who she was. Because when she was in that raging storm, that what was it? What was it? It was a tiger. When she turned into a tiger, all she saw was blood, flesh, kill, and slaughtered. That's it. That's all she saw. Jehudi had to come with wisdom and calm her down. He literally had to trick her, first of all, to calm her down so she wouldn't lash out against him and kill him. And once she got calmed down, she was at bay a little bit. He began to tell her a little story to bring her back to her senses until she remembered, wait a minute, I am not a tiger. Or was it a lion? Whatever it was, I am not that. Wait a minute, until she eventually returned home to a place of peace. I'm sorry. Reflection is necessary to make sense of one's situation and to gain intellectual understanding. A non reflective, confused, or wrong thinking mind will have difficulty meditating. A non meditating mind will have difficulty in transcending the world of apparent dualities, right? We're living in this polarization, up, down, in, out, white, black, you know, the dualities, seemingly dualities, but we're really all one, right? Listen, bro, this is like going along with everything that I'm reading right now. A non meditating mind will have difficulty in transcending the world of apparent dualities. One will be endlessly pulled into the world and the apparent thoughts going on in the mind. As the mind will be caught up in the endless waves of joys and sorrows, it will be unable to find peace. A mind filled with too much joy or too much sorrow due to its experiences in the world will be equally agitated, and one will have difficulty concentrating and calming down, right? Either you're going to be in la la land, head above the clouds, like somebody go get this girl. Listen, come back to reality. The honeymoon phase don't last always. Either you're going to be in la la land or going to be all the way at the other end of the pendulum, like deep down in depression. Like, we got to bring you back to my art, to balance. Hey, snap out of it. As the mind will be caught up in endless waves of joys and sorrows, it will be unable to find peace. A mind filled with too much joy or too much sorrow due to its experiences in the world will be equally agitated, and one will have difficulty concentrating and calming down. One extreme, joy, leads to another, pain. And we almost died. Like, this is literally like we'll be at 107. I'm gonna just keep going. The concept of the miserable Asiatic became known in Egypt as the concept of the land of Heru and the land of Set. Since Set is the god of the desert, the Asiatics who dwelt in the desert lands, Asia Minor, became identified with Set, and therefore Satan behavior, impulsive, selfish, brute force, etc., or Satan behavior, but it's spelled Setian, which in Christianity is now spelled Satan. Still the same thing, Satan. It all originates here. Okay. The Asiatics who dwelt in the desert lands, Asia Minor, became identified with Set and therefore Satan behavior, impulsiveness, selfish, brute force, etc. The teaching about the miserable Asiatic is of paramount importance because it provides an understanding of how the human mind becomes degraded and violent. A human being who is not nurtured and who is constantly experiencing stress will develop a distractive, negative character. The pressures due to lack of security, not knowing where the next meal is coming from, how to acquire the secure, oh, okay. Not knowing where the next meal is coming from, how to secure the needs of life, and then how to hold on to them, etc., does not allow the inner peace and expansiveness of the inner self to manifest. All of these worries and anxieties cause a degradation in the human mind, wherein the concern is not about working with others, but competing with them for food, material wealth, mates, etc. The purpose of human existence is to provide a means for the soul to experience and grow in awareness of itself as being one with creation. Let me read that again. Listen to this. The purpose of human experience is to provide a means for the soul or the spirit to experience and grow in awareness of itself as being one with the creation. This feeling is blissful, supremely satisfying, and universal. When the soul in a human being is not allowed to express itself in this manner, the ego in a human being is in control, and this egoism fosters feelings of personal desire, separation, and animosity to anything, which prevents the ego from getting what it wants. This is the source of animosity, enmity, anger, hatred, and violence in the human experience. Let somebody stop you from allowing you to get what you think is rightfully yours, right? This swings you to the other end of the pendulum. This is the source of animosity, enmity, anger, hatred, and violence in the human experience. Spiritual practice leads a human being to discover a deeper essence of life. True spiritual understanding allows a person to understand where true happiness and peace are found. It shows a person that security cannot be found in the world, but in that which sustains it. The ancient Egyptian teachings presented above are echoed in the ancient Hindu scriptures known as the Bhagavad Gita, in which Lord Krishna instructs his disciple Arjuna. This particular verse comes from the chapter on the practice of meditation. Quote, O Arjuna, the yogi who sees the likeness of himself in all and thus maintains equal vision in pleasure and pain, he is considered the highest yogi. Arjuna then asks about the way in which the mind can be controlled. Arjuna asked, O Krishna, I do not see how it is possible to maintain the steady state of yogic equanimity which you have taught. This mind is ever so restless. Verily, O Krishna, the mind is fickle, impetuous, and turbulent. To me, then, Lord Krishna said, indeed, the mind is restless and difficult to control, but can be brought under control by the exercise of abhyasa, repeated effort, and vairagya, dispassion. It is my opinion that yoga is difficult for anyone who is lacking self control, but it can be attained by one who has mastered his lower self if he adopts the proper means. End quote. These instructions bring out important teachings in reference to understanding and controlling the mind. Many people become discouraged early in their spiritual practice because they do not obtain discernible results within a short time. Sometimes they try many different techniques without giving anyone sufficient time to work. In essence, it's like digging for water by making a well, but without going deep enough. What would happen if a person was to dig a hole and after 1 or 2 feet stop and begin another hole? He or she would not find any water. In spiritual practice, as in any other human endeavor, sustained practice or repeated effort is a key to success. In spiritual practice, every single time you turn your mind towards the divine, you are actually creating a higher mental impression. Eventually, these positive impressions overpower the negative impressions of ignorance, anger, hatred, greed, etc. This occurs even when there is no discernible benefit. Therefore, even though you may not see the immediate results, you should continue practicing your spiritual discipline regularly and with faith. Also, it is important to practice dispassion and detachment from worldly objects and worldly desires. If these points are not practiced along with your formal meditation efforts, you will have little success or very slow success in meditation. Witnessing consciousness and mindfulness in ancient Egypt. And this is literally like the last little paragraph right here. In ancient Egypt, the level of consciousness known as the mystical experience or cosmic awareness, or what we call spiritual enlightenment, was also called Amun, Amun, the witness or watcher. The understanding of the witnessing consciousness achieved a high level of expression in the ancient Egyptian hymns of Amun and in the teaching of the ancient Egyptian trinity of Amun Ra Ptah. The line below from the hymn of Amun explains the nature of the witnessing consciousness. Quote, he, the one watcher who neither slumber nor sleeps, end quote. That sounds like that come from Psalm 121 to me. Or was it Psalm 123? I think it's Psalm 121. The Trinity, Nebercher, I probably said that wrong. I think I said that wrong. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and figure it out, but I know I said that wrong. The Trinity, Nebercher, Amun Ra Ptah of ancient Egypt. Yeah, I said it wrong. I ain't going to figure it out right now. The Trinity, Nebercher, Amun Ra Ptah. Of ancient Egypt, okay, refers to the three states of consciousness and that which transcends them. Amun, the self, is the hidden essence of all things. The sun, Ra, is the radiant and dynamic outward appearance made manifest in the light of cosmic consciousness. In this aspect, Ptah represents the physical world, the solidification of the projection of consciousness. Amun made manifest. The triad also has a reference to the states of consciousness in the human being. The triad refers to the subject or seer, the object or that which is seen, and interaction between the two. In all human experience, there is a subject object interaction relationship occurring all the time. This is true in the waking as well as the dream states. The seer is Amun, that which is seen is Ptah, and the interacting medium or sight is represented by Ra. They are in reality projections or emanations of the transcendental underlying consciousness or Nebercher. Just as the subject object interaction consciousness of a dream is unreal, and they have unreal, the subject object interaction consciousness of the waking state is also unreal and illusory. Even though the phenomenal world experience in the waking state appears to be abiding and solid, modern science has proven that it is not. These new findings of science confirm the teachings of ancient Egyptian yoga philosophy, Vedanta, and yoga philosophy of India, Buddhism of India, and Taoism of China, as well as other mystical philosophies from around the world. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of this section and the end of the chapter for today. All right, page number. All right, so I hope y'all enjoyed it. This is really good. I don't know if y'all enjoying it like I am, but based on all the other stuff I'm researching and looking to when I'm not here with y'all, this is enlightening me a whole lot. Everybody's on that path. Everybody got their own path to grow, but it's all leading us back to the oneness, right to source. But it's a heck of a journey. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let me go ahead and end this. I guess we did pretty good. We over like 19 minutes, but still, I wanted to end this so we can get to the next section. The next section is What? What's this talking about? Oh, part 3 of the book, formal meditation practices and its effects on the mind. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Aids to concentration and meditation, all this good stuff. Okay. Oh yeah, I got some of this stuff highlighted too when I was going through here before. Okay, yeah, we're gonna enjoy this portion of it. And I think this is the last section of the book, y'all. Oh my gosh, we almost done with this. But I'll be so glad when we finish so we can get right to some of the other stuff. Oh yeah. So I give it, if I be moving a little slow like I've been doing, we'll probably be done with this. I say maybe 2 weeks or less. And then we'll start the Initiates of the Flame, the Kabbalion, which are both 2 thin books. And then I am really considering, I don't know, I gotta see. Because not everybody, I don't know, everybody might not be ready to go there. But if you're doing your own due diligence and your own studying, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna add in the raw contact. I don't know. I think that might just be something y'all gotta go to yourself. I don't know, but it's really good. But each volume is like 1,000 pages, and this shucks the Oahspe is what? This is the shucks the Oahspe is like 800 something pages. Yeah, so it's definitely thicker than this. Yeah, so I don't know if we do. I think we probably need to read that the one about the ba and the coffers. We'll see once we get through it, because I think, and that's look, oh, I think so. I think we might, because they brought out some stuff about the body, right? They say you absolutely must, like, to really go to the higher levels. Like when I say we really need to go back to A&P, we really need to go back to A&P, because I jumped ahead in the section in the raw contact, right? And they started talking about how to be able to like really have a clear channel for your body so you can like get information, so it's not like this sporadic thing like, oh, it's like only like 10 people out the world that this has ever happened to. It never should be like that. There should be like free flowing channels for everybody who lives here, right? This is literally everybody's birthright, right? So he began to explain how we do that, and as he began to explain it, I was listening to it, right? Because I'm, got it playing in my ear while I'm walking through the room and everything. And so he said, he started listening. He said, I'm gonna name them by colors, right? And so when he said the first one you need to clear in your body, he said the red color, and he began to explain about that and what happens. And he said, and then after you clear this section, you need to clear the orange section, right? And so when he said orange, it had already got my attention. When he said red, I'm like, I bet he's talking about the chakras. I bet he's talking about the chakras. And as he started going to each section, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, the chakras going in this order, this color, chakras, right? But when he got up to the green and then the blue, which is the heart, and then he got up to the purple, and he said, what you guys call the third eye. I was like, I knew it. He's talking about the chakras. Like all of this, you have to understand all of this about the body. Like all of this is like coming together. It is so friggin' amazing to me. Because now it seems like my random, not so random side roads, looking into things and things I've been telling y'all I've been coming across and how it's like lining up. It seems like all of this is bringing it together to help me, in their words, understand the law of one. But let me share something with y'all. Remember, like when I first started, remember what I told y'all, the first word Yah began to deal with me with about him? Anybody remember what word I said it was? It's a Hebrew word. I'm like, you know what? You can't make this stuff up. I didn't even know this stuff existed when I heard you say that word to me. Anybody remember what I said that word was? It's a Hebrew word. Ooh, Carol. I'm gonna just wait. I'm gonna just see if anybody here remembers from that early on. I'll just do the Jeopardy theme real quick. Nobody probably remember. Probably because it was a personal to me. But when I said, you might remember for those who were there. the word y'all began dealing with me with as I began to wake up, coming through out of Christianity, Hebrew camps, when I began my like personal study, like really what's going on, y'all said, Robin, and I don't even think you was here. I think you were a latecomer, or maybe you just hadn't said anything in the early days. Maybe you was there. Exactly. Echad, right? Echad. One. So now that I'm into this whole, the raw contact, and the whole thing about the raw contact is the law of one, I'm just like, you cannot make this stuff up. Like, this gets better day by day. Like, this is bringing together all the different pieces of the stuff that I've studied over the last few years. I'm like, okay. And it seems like, yeah, but you got it though. Like, but it probably just like clicked with you, but yo, like all of this stuff is lining up. It's like, y'all, it's completely blowing my mind here. It really is. I don't know. So we might read the raw contact. Once I get through all of it and just kind of go through stuff, I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe we need to, because it's just a part of my journey. Like, I'm taking y'all through my journey so y'all can, Papa just told you, look, bless y'all. But that was right. Like, if you was a latecomer, how would you know that, right? But they tell me something. Like, you can tap in and hear like immediately, right? Hey, on your spiritual growth, and do a dance for you, Robin. Hey, may we all ask questions and get immediate answers and get the right answers. Bro, this is so good. Okay, y'all, I gotta go. It's Monday. Thank y'all for hanging out. Look, okay, it is Monday, May the 16th. Wait, don't end. Let me just finish. Jen, ain't it? It's so interesting. It is May the 16th, 2022, day 109 of year 4. Reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 4-year consecutive day. Count day 1027. Like, we've learned all of this so far, y'all, in 1127 days. Well, it's been longer than that for me. I just kind of came live. We've been doing it together for this long, but a few years before then, just add my personal experience. Yo, okay. And we read the Oahspe. We finished reading the Lord's second book, pages 84 through 94, and the rest of the section 2 of the meditation book, pages 121 to 125. All right, y'all. So with that being said, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and reshare all the links and stuff for the Oahspe. I know, right? They always end it. I saw that and I thought that was beautiful. They always end their sessions. They say Adonai. Like, we would end something or end a prayer and say amen. They say Adonai. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that. I don't see anything wrong with that, right? It's amazing. It's just, okay, y'all, let me get out of here. I love y'all. I'm going to share with y'all what I said I was going to share. And then I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. May y'all bless you all in your search, in your journey, in your path for truth, right? And as you come upon truth, may you adjust your outcome and what you understand. May you not be afraid to adjust and root out all the lies and replace it with truth, right? I love y'all. See y'all tomorrow. Bruce.
Why you see my hand shaking?
Press finish, girl. All right. I'm going to check the YouTube video, y'all, because if it's real glitchy, I'm going to just replace it with the Facebook video today. Bye.